Hello and welcome to my podcast Jetzt erst recht, Positiv Leben mit Parkinson. My name is Katrin Wersing and I started this podcast 2 years ago because I was diagnosed with Parkinson's at the age of 40. And since then I've been looking out for people with positive stories. Isn't it strange that we remember negative stories easily, while positive ones seem hard to find? But actually there are so many encouraging and positive stories out there that show us how people cope with life despite Parkinson's. And these wonderful stories I didn't only find in Germany, Austria and Switzerland, but also in many other countries all around the world. So today, in my special series Parkinson's Around the World, I virtually traveled to Denmark and met Elisabeth Ildahl. I guess you will hear it right away. We had an incredible amount of fun during our interview and we laughed a lot. But we also focused on serious facts of Parkinson's. Elisabeth has been living with PD for almost 10 years, and she has overcome many challenges during that time. In the beginning, she hid the disease from nearly everyone, but later she spoke frankly from one day to the next, and since then she has been tirelessly involved in helping people with Parkinson's. Elisabeth is a courageous, strong, but above all, fun-loving woman, and I'm very happy that I can share her story with you today. Our English is colorful and not perfect, but that's how I think life should be. So I hope you will enjoy this interview. Hello, Elisabeth. I'm so happy to meet you today. Not only in Denmark, but all over the world, people in the Parkinson's community know you well. And I'm glad that you are my guest tonight and kindly share your story with us. So welcome to my podcast.
Thank you very much, Katrin. I'm so happy to be on your podcast. I'm very proud of being on your podcast. And it was so nice when you called me on Sunday. So that's really fantastic.
Thank you. For a start, the first question in my podcast is always, what have you laughed about today?
That's really easy to say because I was going on this Zoom and as your picture came up, there came a pink pig. And you have a lot of animals, balloons around and you are in the hospital and the nurses are running in and out and it's so funny.
That's true. We have been laughing already before we started.
Yeah. I have been laughed at other stuff today also.
As I got to know you, you are a person that likes laughing, aren't you?
Yeah. You know, you have one life, get the best out of it.
Yeah. And being happy and laughing is one part of it. That's true.
Yes, it is.
So let's dive into your Parkinson's story. When did you receive the diagnosis and how did you feel about it back then?
I got my diagnosis on the 20th of June in 2013. 10 years in the summer. I've been playing table tennis for really a long time. And I had my own club down here in the city. Mm-hmm. And that week I had a summer camp for small kids. And on this 20th of June, it was a Thursday, I had to be at the hospital 11 o'clock. And they have sent me a letter about all this on the 1st of June. So when I got the letter and there was 20 days, I was thinking, oh, I'm free. There's nothing wrong. It'll go fine. But it was a sunny Thursday. I had just the week before got a little Fiat 500. So I was driving away with my little Fiat and the sun. And I went up to the hospital, took the elevator. And then I went into her office and found a chair. And she came in and she said to me, yes, Elisabeth, we have a big surprise. You have been very difficult to diagnose because I have been in and out of the hospital for 7 years from I was 45. And when she said you have Parkinson, I did say, no, I have not Parkinson. That is something old men get, not women in my age. I was 53 years that summer. And then I said to her, okay, can I have some cool facts about Parkinson? Then she said to me, I think I can promise you that I can keep you fresh about 4 to 5 years.
Okay.
And then she said, you have to have medication straight away. So she made a prescription. And then she also said I have to train. So I could go to a physiotherapist and have training. Yeah. And then she said, come back in 3 months.
Oh, wow. That was it.
Yeah, that was it. When I came down, I was sitting on a bench in front of the hospital. It felt like a really long time. And then I took my little new car. I was driving around for about 2 hours. I have a very good table tennis friend called Martin Monrad, who has been professional and I called him as the first, because I have to think a little about how I have to present this for my family, you know. But 2 hours later, I stopped at a parking lot somewhere. And then I called my husband and said, I had a bad news. I have Parkinson, and we're not going to tell the kids before they're finished with the exams and the school in July. Yeah, then I just drove back home.
Yeah.
And we talked about it, and we agreed we were not going to tell anyone. Of course, my parents knew that, my siblings. And then I have 2, 3, 4 friends or something. I totally shut up for the next 3 years, went into a black cupboard sitting in there. I didn't tell anyone.
You told me that in advance, and it must have been a really lonely and desperate time, I think. 3 years of hiding is a long time. And in which moment did you decide to speak openly about your condition, and what changes did you experience?
It's really so funny, because I've been thinking of saying it for a long time, but it was because the same year I was running for the first time for the city council. I was terrified. I think if people find out that I have Parkinson, nobody would vote on me. But I got elected in 2013 in November month. I had a really super, super good election. The day after the election, I was in the front of the papers. She got the winner of the election because I was going in top 10. After I have been sitting there in 3 years, I had a seat in this, what we call health, you know. So that was really uncomfortable a lot of time when we have meetings, because I felt I was inhabile.
Wow.
That I knew we were talking a lot about sickness, you know. And it was actually in 2016, I went to the bathroom. I was at meeting up there on a Wednesday. And I don't know what happened out of that bathroom when I was sitting there. When I came back to the meeting, I said, before I sit down, I have something I would like to tell you. I have Parkinson, and I have had it for over 3 years. And, you know, they were in shock. They were really in shock. We met, all of us from the city council, to lunch, and then I knocked the glass and said, I have something I have to tell to all you others also. I have Parkinson, and I have had it for 3 years. And then I called the newspaper.
Oh, God. Okay.
And a couple of days after, it was over, you know, Ildal has Parkinson. And that's the best thing I ever have done, because sitting in there, it was not funny.
Yeah, I'm sure it must have been a very difficult time.
Yeah, but I didn't know anything about Parkinson, and I didn't...
Neither did I. Yeah.
I didn't know anything.
Yeah, that's true. And as you said, you have been elected from November 2013. And at this time, you were already diagnosed, but you didn't tell anyone. And you got re-elected as well. Twice, even though everybody knew you have Parkinson's.
Yeah,
it must have been about you and not about your condition that people liked and voted for you. Why are you engaged in politics, and what difference were you able to make during the last years?
It started really for a long time ago. It started when my kids were small. And they have to go to kindergarten. You know, there was not much space, and it was old buildings, and I was sitting in the board and kindergarten, and I was really fighting for getting better place for small kids. And it actually succeeded. We got rebuilt the house. Yeah. All my 3 kids have been going over there, and that was actually the beginning. But then I started the table tennis club in 1999, and that was much more fun than politics. So I went out of politics, and I first came back to politics 2012. At that time being, I have been driving this my table tennis club for about 13 years. When I was running the first time, and also the other times, it has because I'm really interested in sport, you know, all different sports. But the first 8 years I was sitting up there, I didn't get a seat in the Sport and Culture Commission. But this time I got my seat. So that's really super.
Okay, that's cool.
So that's why I came into politics.
Okay. And after speaking freely about your diagnosis, you really dived headfirst into action, which I find really amazing. For example, you visited the World Parkinson's Conference in Portland, USA, and you became an ambassador. And you even founded a rehab center for people with Parkinson's in your hometown. So, which is quite a lot to do. And you have been on your job in the council as well. I don't know how you have been managing all that, but could you tell us more about
I also had a normal job.
Also normal job. Oh my God.
Yes, I have had my own company, and I have a degree in law. And I've also been working in a bank many years ago. But, Portland.
All right.
Yeah, after I have been sitting in the cupboard for 3 years reading all this, I found out that there was this conference in Portland. And I think it was really looking interesting. So I called in New York. Before I knew it, I had a flight ticket. I was on my way to Portland. They were going to use me in a book called Global Faces of Parkinson, I think it was. It was really funny. So I took a flight out there. And the next morning, around the corner, there was some city bikes. So I said, okay, I take a city bike. So I took one of these city bikes and ride down to the convention center where the conference would be. And it was really great fun. But to be serious again, I actually got a shock when I come to Portland because I didn't know what Parkinson was. And there were nearly 3,000 people. And there was someone who was so bad and they were shaking and it was hard because at that time I still didn't know what Parkinson was.
Yeah, that's true. And I can remember the first times I have seen people who have had Parkinson's for 15 or 20 years, and it really gives you a shock. I also felt like that. And but now it's easier for me to see the people behind the disability who are still great and beautiful. But in the beginning, it really is a shock. I can remember that too. Yeah.
And still nowadays, it's the hardest for me to see friends going down.
Yeah.
Oh man, I hate it. But we have to do our best and we have to try to help as good as we can.
Yeah, that's true.
In a way, you learn to cope with it. It's like a big elephant traveling around all over and making a lot of noise. For me, it's about the walking and, the cramps and the bladder and the swallowing. And I have lots of things you can't see. But it's my life also. Everything is about a choice. I never think about yesterday. And I don't think about tomorrow. Because you have to be present in the present.
That's true.
Yeah. And the only thing that's really for sure tomorrow, if we wake up, that is we have been one day older. That's the only thing that's for sure.
We haven't talked about your rehab center for people with Parkinson's. You founded a rehab center for people with Parkinson's in your hometown, which is amazing, and it's still open. So what was your motivation behind all this?
After I have been to Portland in 2016, I realized that training was the thing I have to focus on. So when I came back from Montebello, I founded this Cure for Parkinson, starting to collecting money and wanted to help people with Parkinson, maybe also scientists. But it became into a training center because I met an old guy from Poland. I knew his son, and he was a boxing coach. And he came to my office one day. He has also Parkinson. That was why he was coming to talk to me.
Ah, cool.
And before this conversation was over, I have got 5,000 kroner to buy a boxing sack and some gloves. And we started at my work in a little bit room, half this size as here. And then we became bigger and bigger. We went into the cantina where we were doing big exercise,
Yeah, I know them, yeah.
And in 2019, we moved to another place. And then we have played table tennis also. January or February this year, we moved it here back to my municipality. So it's just around the corner. And we have table tennis, we have biking, we have yoga, we have fitness. It costs about 100 euros for a whole year to come there. You can train there Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And all the trainers also have Parkinson's.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
that is special, yeah.
But I have changed a little bit because as the years go by, I need some help from fresh people.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So in that way, I have been changing a little bit. But still, we want to have this for ourselves. It's a free place for all of us, and we can talk about everything, and it stays there.
Yeah, that's good.
And that's super.
Yeah. And it's really important that we have those places where we can speak freely.
Yeah. And we are 20 members today. It's fantastic. I don't think about Parkinson very much. I try to live my life as I always have been done. I try to stay as close to normal as I can. It's not always I can this, but it's about taking the control, You have to take control over it because you can weaken a lot of your Parkinson system if you stop thinking. And it's up here in the mind, all the story starts. When you can sleep, all the negative, and sometimes they're not even true, the story that starts up here. And all the worrying is also stopped up here. In 2019, I was really bad. I wrote a letter to Alex Curtin in Israel.
Yeah, Alex Curtin, I know him, yeah.
And he called me back, and he said, I can work with you because you have been very honest. I just said it as a verse. And together with Alex, for 2.5, 3 years, he have really been teaching me very, very well and giving me all the tools. At that time, I haven't been sleeping for nearly over a year. I couldn't sleep. I think I got too much agonist also. And, Alex, he don't work with patients. Alex, he works with clients. And I also like this a lot. And it's the 4 things that Alex Curtin is working on. Movement, rhythm, expression gives energy. You can weaken your Parkinson symptoms. You have to try to do the things you always have been doing. And sometimes I count to 4. I'm writing on a book now called 1, 2, 3, 4, Lift Your Feet. Because Parkinson is mostly you bend over. You have to spread your legs as a soldier. Mm-hmm. And then you have to get moving and then lift the feet. And I always count to 1, 2, 3, 4. Also when I'm sitting down now in my head, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. I'm counting 24/7. You can also use the breathing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He had taught me so much. It's about saying goodbye, Parkinson, hello, life. And I say this many times a day. It's about to choose what you want. Of course, I also have had bad days when I hardly can get out of bed,
Yeah, we all know these days, I think.
Then I shout maybe, what a roller coaster day. Get up, and then I get up, and then I try to get out to the bathroom.
Roller coaster day is great, yeah. I like that.
Yeah, something like that. And then I come out and look at myself in the mirror. Then I just smile and say, oh, you're gorgeous. Then I put, every morning I listen to Earth, Wind and Fire. And then I do a little training. You can find it on the internet, Alex Curtin, 5 small exercises about conducting and your hands and your feet. The feet is the most important because the feet are the things that are carrying you. Mm-hmm. And I also said when the day is over, don't look back because we're not going that way, we are going forward. You have to stay on the positive road. It's a choice to stay on the positive road. And the people who take the medication as been told and train minimum 1 hour a day, that's the one that are going to manage the best. That's a fact.
If there are some people who don't know about Alex Curtin at all, could you give a short summary who he is and where he's from?
Yeah, Alex Curtin have been written this book, Goodbye Parkinson, Hello Life. Mm-hmm. Some years ago, together with David Brin, he was a journalist on the Jerusalem Post, I think it was. And the method he used is called gyrokinetics. You can weaken your Parkinson system and get into a really good health by following this. But Alex, maybe, I don't know, he's 73, 24 now. Sorry, Alex, if you are younger. But he is born in Israel. He has been living many years in the Far East. He used a lot of the Far East things they have. He has been in the Israeli army. He has been working at a hospital for many, many years, working with Parkinson patients. And for 35 years, I think he have had his own business. But he is super. He is really a great friend of me today, But as I said to him when I have to leave, I said, that's the biggest success, that you can say goodbye to someone instead of you have to be in the program for the next 10 years.
Yeah,
he have really given me the tools. So if I go up, I know what it is. If I go down, I know what it is. And I just have to use some of the tools. It's all about finding the middle and the balance in life.
Yeah.
Don't be extreme. Find the balance. Get rid of the stress. Mm-hmm. When I started with Alex, I was talking like this. And by his gyrokinetics, I use my hands to get rhythm in my speak, to speak slow. I use my hands and the counting to get rhythm in my walking. I use it to get rhythm in my whole body and also in my head. It has been a big help for me.
That is amazing, yeah. And as I can hear from you, it's all about empowerment, isn't it? It's about empowering ourselves, not to just sit down and think that we can't do anything.
Yeah.
No, we can do a lot, but we have to take the power into our own hands, isn't it?
As I said, you have to take the responsibility for your own life into your own hands. You can do anything if you want, but it's hard work and it hurts. But if you really want, you can do it. I have been down many times, but I have the strength to come back because, as I said, he has been teaching me so very, very well. And I know what's going on in my body, and I'm listening to my body these days.
That is really important.
You have to leave the backpack and you have to stop thinking. I'm busy playing table tennis. I have to go to city council. I see friends and I don't have time to think about all this. But of course, I have bad days also where I cannot do anything. But mostly good days. And if I'm on the wrong way, I really change my script and I change my habits and I change my mind, starting to think of something nice.
That's true. That's always good. You've been mentioning it already. Ping pong and table tennis was and still is a big passion in your life. And you have also been at the Ping Pong Parkinson's World Championships. You have been to New York and you have been to Berlin. If there are any people, I don't know, who doesn't know about table tennis, I think everybody knows, but if there are any who don't know much about table tennis and Parkinson's, could you tell us why is table tennis helpful for you and maybe for other people with PD as well?
Table tennis is really good for the eye and hand coordination. A table tennis table is a small thing, so you don't get really much damage, If you're playing handball or tennis, it's easier to get damage, but you can control it. And when you play table tennis, your mental health is really getting sharp. And it's good for the feet also and the joints because small steps, side steps, you're not running really fast. And it's very good for your reflexes. And when you go out to play table tennis, there's also social communities. You get new friends and you drink coffee and stuff like this. And it's improve your coordination, your balance. And it stimulates really many, many places in your brain. If you play table tennis, you use the whole brain. That's why table tennis is so good. But when I was diagnosed in 2013, I also threw that. I went out of the club and it closed 8 months later, unfortunately. Then I've been totally out of table tennis also, but in November 2017, Nat Bach called me. And over from Westchester Table Tennis Center and asked me to come over to US, the first international tournament in ping pong.
All right.
And it was in February 2018. So I took a flight to New York and he came and picked me up. And I participated in the first international table tennis tournament for people with Parkinson. Because I was there, they could say it was an international tournament. And it was actually super great. And then the Nat came here to Copenhagen in a plane in May 2018. We took my son's guitar into the car and I drove him all the way up to World Championships up in Halmstad. And he had to talk to the board, so he got to the board with my son's guitar. I don't know what. And then we saw the result in 2019 in October. The first World Championship for people with Parkinson were held in Westchester Table Tennis Center. And it was a great experience. Really special days at Westchester.
Oh, cool.
And I actually had a really bad knee. So I was not supposed to play, but I think, okay, I do it. So I got a silver medal in a double with a woman from Croatia who I've never seen before. And then I was even worse last year in Berlin. I was sitting in a wheelchair and they took me to the table in a wheelchair. And I come up and then I was also playing on painkillers. And come on in class 1, I got a bronze medal in women's single, women's double and in mix. Yes, it was amazing. I didn't know how.
Class 1, yeah, that's the really good players, yeah.
So next year, I'm in really good shape. Then we see what it can be.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm also a big fan of Ping Pong Parkinson's. I know Thorsten Bohm, who founded the movement in Germany with Harry Wissler, and they have been to New York 2019 as well. And then they took the Ping Pong Parkinson's movement to Germany and now we have 120 clubs here in
Yeah,
Germany. It's really amazing. And I'm the leader of the club in Münster. And I always see what amazing things happen when people start playing table tennis. They come in first, and sometimes you think, well, I don't know if they can really play. They have problems in walking and speaking, and everything improves when they play. Sometimes it feels like a miracle what you can see, and I think it's a wonderful thing.
Yes, it is. You could also sit in a wheelchair playing. There's lots of possibilities, and Thorsten was also in New York. And Jens Greve was in New York. That was where I met Jens Greve for the first time, and he's one of my very best friends today. And Jørgen Karnfort and Juvidu. I am a big fan of Juvidu, Jens and Jørgen, and they are doing great stuff. I was biking with them 2 years ago, and 1 month ago I was down biking in Berlin, but we don't have to talk about that because I only biked 1.5 hours and then I crashed.
No, you got injured quite severely, yeah.
So I was at hospital for 2 days, and then I moved into Jens's. He has such a nice wife also. They were so kind to me and took care of me. But that was not funny.
No, I bet it wasn't there.
So, but you can see I'm okay now, and I'll be fine.
Wonderful, yeah. It's really good to see. As we all know, with Parkinson's, we face a lot of challenges, and it's not always easy to stay positive. But can you see any benefits or learnings you gained in your life because of having PD?
There's nothing positive to say about Parkinson, but there's lots of positive to say about all the new friends I have got, all the new people, it's been fantastic. But Parkinson, no thank you. I don't see any positive with that. I think it's not about Parkinson, but if you get sick and, have a bad time, I feel gratitude. I feel thankful because I love my life. I hope I will be here for many, many years and I can keep it down. But I'm thankful. I'm so happy to be alive. That's something that has changed. I'm really thankful and I'm really grateful. And I really say thank you many times during the day. I also remember to say thank you to myself also. Yeah, that's the way it is.
That's the way it is, right? In this podcast, I try to focus on how Parkinson's is seen and treated in other countries of the world. Though Germany and Denmark are quite close to each other, from your point of view, are there any differences in how Parkinson's is seen and treated in Denmark compared to Germany?
I think so, but I can only say how it is here in Denmark. It is like this: when you get a diagnosis here in Denmark, you go to a private neurologist or at the hospital. And then they make a plan, and then we have down in Spain a rehab hospital. And you can seek to go down there to learn, to train.
In Spain, you say. So you have to go to Spain.
Yeah, I've been there twice. And I was there in 2016. 52% who seeks get a seat down there.
Okay.
And you get 3 weeks. You come on a Saturday and you stay for 3 weeks. And then they test you the first day. You come with different exercises. And when the 3 weeks are gone, they test you again. And in 2016, when I was there the first time, my level of function was increased with 22% in 2 weeks.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's not only for Parkinson, it's broken arms and knees and hearts and stuff like this. But you're also at the hospital now, at the rehab.
I'm also in rehab, yeah.
It's maybe something similar to this we have in Spain. And then it is like this here in Denmark. When you have Parkinson, you have free access to go to a physiotherapist to train on a team.
Yeah.
We don't pay for that.
Oh, that is cool. Yeah, that is really good.
Yeah. I think that is not so good is that if you come acute to a Danish hospital, let's say I was crashing on the bike, I come to a hospital. If you don't have your Parkinson medication in your pocket, you don't get any Parkinson medication.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. And that's something I have been a little bit upset about. Then we also here need more neurologists. We also need some nurses who have a big knowledge about Parkinson. We have a lot of great scientists over at Aarhus and also here in Copenhagen. Come on, it's better to have Parkinson today than 20 years ago. But still the medication we get is developed in 61 or something.
It's true.
Maybe they have changed a little bit about it, but come on, let's have some new medicine. Let's try to go another way.
Yeah.
It's really strange. You can see stuff like AIDS and HIV. It took 10 years and they have the vaccine. COVID-19, it took 1 year. Come on, why can't it be like this with Parkinson? I don't get it.
That's it.
Here back in Denmark, we have also making a deal with the Danish Association of Table Tennis. Mm-hmm. In Denmark, we have something called plus 60.
All right.
People who are over 16 playing in the morning and until 12 o'clock. So all clubs in Denmark have promised that if they have training in the morning, every single person with Parkinson can come and play table tennis, no matter how old you are.
That's good, yeah.
So that's really working very fine. And last year in October, we also had the first Danish national championships.
Wow, wonderful.
Yeah. So that was also super. But it's really growing here also, as you say, it's growing in Germany. It's really growing. And
wonderful. It's so wonderful.
So happy. I had a comeback where I was coming back to normal table tennis on a team.
You had a comeback, yeah.
And it was very funny because when I came into the venue, I have a walker. So I put my back, it's easier with this. And I was going on a team with two old guys. And when they saw me coming with my walker, they was a...
Okay.
And I said, okay.
I will show you guys.
Yes, and I did. I played 10 matches. And I won 9 out of 10. And we got second. And we got
brilliant
wine and sweets. And
oh, wonderful, your comeback.
Yeah, on Saturday I'm going to play in men's class 3 in another tournament. So I'm really looking forward to see how that goes.
Yeah, that's great. Just go out and do things and enjoy life. That's the important thing we have to do. Yeah.
And then we have to remember to stay also together with people without Parkinson.
Yeah. Otherwise, we are in a kind of bubble and miss the life of our children and partners and families. Yeah.
Okay, I have Parkinson. I'm alive. I have 3 fantastic kids. I have 3 grandkids, soon 4.
Wonderful.
I have big friends and I have really nothing to complain about because I really love my life, even though I have Parkinson.
Even though, yeah, we still love our life, so that's true. So we are coming to the end. Elizabeth, do you have any advice or words of wisdom you would like to share with the listeners in the end?
Yes, don't back down. Just be yourself. Don't be embarrassed. There is a really good song Tom Petty has been writing called Don't Back Down. And I tell you, I will never back down. And I'm not afraid to say what I mean. I take the claps that come out of this. I stay as close as I can to the normal line. I weaken my Parkinson symptoms by doing MREE. Try to stop thinking. And if you have to think about something, then think about some things you can do something about. Like you are saying, you are growing the table tennis and I'm helping one. And, it's much easier to come through all this because I'm not going to say I'm suffering because I'm not. I have a good life and I keep this in mind and I get the best out of every day because we have to get that. We have been given a life, so get the best out of it because it's much funnier to have fun and be positive than, the other things. But of course, there are some things you can't control. As a lot of people get depressions and have to have some help, but I really like that it's a community where everyone can help each other one way or another.
And it's a huge community all around the world, and that is really amazing. And it's wonderful meeting people everywhere. Yeah,
I have been written 5 things down that I will say. Learn something new is the first. Take life activities. Strengthen your network. Meet new people. Give of yourself.
Yeah.
Be present in the present.
Yeah.
Those 5 rules is what I am living after, actually.
Yeah. That is wonderful. Thank you very much for sharing.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for all your time and for all your inspiration. It has been wonderful talking to you. I hope that we keep in touch and I hope we someday meet at a table tennis table and play. Although I will be losing everything, but
no, you never know. You never know.
You never know. That's true. Thank you so much, Elizabeth.
Yes. Ciao and have a really great evening and thank you for having me here. Bye.
Bye-bye. I think Elisabeth is simply wonderful, isn't she? I'm very impressed by how she has managed to pull herself out of difficult situations again and again with a lot of strength and motivation. And as we all know, it never is easy, isn't it? If you want to find out more about Elisabeth or about the topics we discussed, you can find the links in the show notes of this podcast. And as Elisabeth says, we have to be present in the present. Actually quite simple and yet often so difficult. It means we should laugh today, enjoy our life now, and stop thinking about tomorrow. Maybe just for today. After my interview with Elisabeth, a special feeling of lightness has remained with me today, and that's exactly my wish for you. A day full of lightness and good thoughts. So take good care of yourself and stay on the positive side of life.